You know, sometimes we don't want to admit that we're hurting. Like we walk around with this smile plastered on our face, acting like everything's fine, when deep down, it's not. And I get it. Nobody wants to look like they're struggling. We live in a world where everybody's showing their highlight reels, and you don't want to be the person who says, "Hey, actually, I'm not okay." But here's the thing. It's okay to not be okay. It really is. There's no medal for pretending you're not in pain. Sometimes life throws things at you that just hurt. It might be a heartbreak, losing someone you love, getting rejected from something you wanted so bad, or even just waking up one day and feeling like you're not enough. That's real. And it's not weakness to feel that. You've got to give yourself permission to say, "This is hard." You've got to sit with it, even when it's uncomfortable. Because the more you try to push it away, the louder it comes back, you know? Pain doesn't just disappear because we ignore it. It lingers. It shows up in your thoughts, in your body, in the way you react to people. Sometimes in ways you don't even realize. So I'm telling you, acknowledge it. Say it out loud if you have to. I'm hurt. I'm disappointed. I'm angry. Whatever it is, name it. There's power in naming your pain. It's like, once you call it out, it loses a little bit of its grip on you. It stops hiding in the shadows. We're so quick to comfort other people when they're hurting. We hug them, we listen, we say, "I'm here for you." But when it's us, we try to tough it out. And honestly, that's exhausting. You deserve the same compassion you give to everyone else. So don't rush to fix it right away. Sometimes, what you need is just to feel it. Cry if you have to. Be quiet if you need space. Scream into a pillow if that's your thing. There's no right way to hurt. But there is a right to your feelings. You can't heal from something you refuse to feel. So, start there. Acknowledge the pain. That's not the end of the story, but it is where the healing begins. Oh, let's talk about something most of us don't really want to hear. And it's this. Pain isn't just random. Yeah, I know, when you're in it, it feels like the universe is just being cruel for no reason. Like, why me? Why now? What did I do to deserve this? Trust me, I've been there. We all have. But here's the thing. Pain doesn't show up in your life just to ruin your day. It's not here just to make you suffer for the sake of suffering. Pain is trying to tell you something. It's a messenger. A loud, sometimes very rude messenger, but a messenger nonetheless. Think about it. When you touch something hot, your body immediately reacts. That burn is your body's way of saying, "Hey, don't touch that again." Physical pain protects you. Emotional pain? It works the same way, but on a deeper level. It's like life's way of tapping you on the shoulder, and when you ignore it, it starts shaking you a little. And if you still don't listen, it'll knock you flat on your back until you finally pay attention. It could be a broken relationship that you keep trying to hold on to, even though every part of you knows it's not good for you anymore. Or maybe it's that job that drains your soul, but you stay because it feels safe. And suddenly, you find yourself anxious, exhausted, maybe even resentful. That discomfort, that ache, that's the message. It's life saying, this isn't where you're meant to stay. But a lot of us, and I'm guilty of this too, we don't want to hear the message. We just want the pain to stop. So we numb it. We distract ourselves. We binge watch shows, scroll endlessly, keep busy, avoid silence. Because silence is when the message gets louder. But here's the secret. The sooner you stop running and start listening, the less you have to suffer. Because pain doesn't want to punish you. It wants to teach you. It wants you to grow. It's like life's most annoying but effective teacher. The one that keeps giving you pop quizzes until you finally understand the lesson. Sometimes, the message is simple. You need rest. Sometimes it's more profound. You need to let go. And other times, it's telling you, you're not living your truth. Whatever it is, it's not until you stop and say, okay, what are you trying to tell me? That you start to move forward. Pain shows up to wake you up. To redirect you. It's that friend, you know, the brutally honest one, who's not afraid to tell you when you're settling for less than you deserve. It's uncomfortable, sure, but it's there because something inside you is meant for more. So the next time it hurts, and I mean really hurts, I want you to pause and ask yourself, what's the message here? What is life trying to tell me that I've been too afraid or too busy to hear? Because once you hear it, once you really get it, that's when things start to shift. The hurt becomes less about the suffering and more about the lesson. And that lesson, it changes everything. Alright, so here's something that took me a really long time to understand, and maybe you felt this too, but for a big part of my life, I honestly thought that the things I'd been through, the mistakes, the heartbreaks, the stuff I wasn't proud of, I thought all of that was just baggage. Like, things I had to keep hidden, you know? Things that made me less than, or things that people wouldn't understand. And maybe you feel like that right now. Maybe there's a part of your story that you're carrying around like it's this big secret, like it's something to be ashamed of. But what if I told you that the very thing you're trying to hide, that struggle, that hurt, that chapter of your life that was messy and painful. What if that's actually where your power lies? I know it sounds crazy, right? But hear me out. Every single thing you've survived, every single time you thought, I can't do this, and yet, somehow you're still here, that's not weakness. That's resilience. That's strength. And the wild thing is, people don't connect with your perfection. They connect with your story. We all love a good comeback story. We love when someone rises after they've fallen. But somehow, when it's us in the middle of the fall, we forget that this part, the messy middle, it's not the end. It's just a chapter. And guess what? You get to decide how the story ends. You're the author here. So instead of hiding your story, I want you to own it. All of it. The good, the bad, the ugly. Because when you do that, when you start speaking from your scars instead of your wounds, you become powerful. You become the kind of person who walks into a room and makes someone else think, wow, if they can get through that, maybe I can too. Your story is your power because it's proof. It's proof that pain doesn't get to have the last word. It's proof that you're stronger than what tried to break you. And let me tell you, someone out there is waiting to hear it. You might not think your story matters, but to someone else, it could be the exact thing that gives them hope. And no, I'm not saying you have to share every detail with the world. You get to choose who you share it with, and when. But even just acknowledging it to yourself, even just standing in front of a mirror and saying, this happened to me, but it doesn't define me, that's powerful. That's where healing starts. We spend so much time wishing we could erase the hard parts of our past. But those parts are where the light gets in. That's where you learn compassion. That's where you build grit. That's where you discover who you really are. So don't run from your story. Don't be embarrassed by it. Your story is your power. It's your evidence that you're still standing. It's the map that shows others how to get through their own storms. And one day, when you're ready, you'll tell your story, and you won't tell it with tears in your eyes. You'll tell it with pride. You'll tell it with strength. And someone will hear it and think, if they made it, I can make it too. That is power. You know, this one's tough. Because when you're sitting in the middle of the hurt, when everything feels raw and heavy, the last thing you want to hear is someone saying, oh, there's a reason for this. Right? Like, you don't want to hear about silver linings when your heart's in pieces. But here's the truth I've learned. Not from a book, not from a podcast, but from living it. Pain has a purpose. It really does. And I don't say that lightly. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything or act like pain is this magical thing you should be grateful for while you're crying on the bathroom floor. No. Hurt hurts. Period. But if you're open to it, that pain can be the very thing that transforms you. See, when life is comfortable, we don't really grow. I mean, why would we? When everything's going smooth, we just cruise along. But pain, oh, pain shakes you, pulls you out of autopilot. It forces you to look at things you've been ignoring, maybe for years. And yeah, it's uncomfortable as hell, but it's also where the shift happens. Maybe the hurt is trying to wake you up to the fact that you've outgrown a situation, a relationship, a job, even an old version of yourself. Maybe it's life's way of saying, hey, you're meant for more than this. You're playing small. But you wouldn't have seen that if everything stayed easy. You needed the shake-up. You needed the discomfort to even consider change. And I know, it's hard to believe when you're in it. It feels like it's never gonna make sense. But looking back, how many times have you thought, wow, if that hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't be where I am today? You see the purpose after the fact. It's like life connects the dots backwards. Sometimes, the purpose is personal growth. Other times, it's to build empathy. Because once you've been through something tough, you look at people differently. You listen more. You judge less. You become someone who can hold space for others in their pain because you've been there too. That's purpose. And sometimes, the hurt redirects you. Like, you're so focused on what you lost, or what didn't work out, but life's trying to clear a path for something better. It's just that. The clearing process? Yeah, it's messy. It feels like destruction, but it's really preparation. It's making room for something that aligns better with who you're becoming. I'm not saying every hurt comes with an immediate, aha moment. Some hurts take time to reveal their purpose. But if you stay open, even just a little bit, you'll start to notice that every tough season teaches you something. It might teach you resilience, or boundaries, or patience, or maybe it teaches you to finally put yourself first. And listen, you don't have to love the pain to find purpose in it. You don't have to be grateful for the storm while you're still soaking wet. But just knowing that this isn't all for nothing, that the hurt you're feeling right now is shaping you, stretching you, preparing you, that's powerful. That's what keeps you going when giving up feels easier. So next time it hurts, and you're wondering, why is this happening to me? Maybe, just maybe, try asking, what is this trying to teach me? Where is this trying to lead me? Because I promise you, there's purpose in the hurt. It's not the end of your story. It's just a part of the journey that's building you into someone even stronger, wiser, and more alive than you've ever been. When life feels like it's falling apart, like everything is loud and chaotic and your mind's just racing, the last thing you think you need is stillness, right? I mean, who has time to be still when your world feels like it's on fire? You're just trying to put out flames, you're trying to fix things, survive the day, maybe even just breathe. Stillness? It sounds impossible. But here's the thing. That chaos, that storm that's swirling around you, it feeds on your panic. It feeds on your constant need to do, to fix, to figure it all out right now. And what I've learned, sometimes the hard way, is that when everything outside feels loud, you need to get quiet inside. You need to find that stillness. And no, I'm not talking about sitting cross-legged in some perfect meditation pose, though if that's your thing, great. What I'm talking about is creating a moment, even just a few minutes, where you pause, where you stop reacting, stop scrolling, stop trying to outrun the storm, and you just be. You let yourself breathe. You listen. Because here's the truth. Storms aren't always meant to be fought. Sometimes, they're meant to be witnessed. And it's in that stillness, in that pause, where you can start to hear your own voice again. You know, the one that gets drowned out by fear and noise and everybody else's opinions. That voice. It's your compass. But you'll miss it if you're too busy running. We live in a world that praises hustle, that tells you to keep pushing, keep moving, keep grinding. But sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is to be still in the middle of your storm. To say, okay, I don't have all the answers right now. I don't know how this ends. But I'm going to sit with myself and breathe through this moment. And I get it. Being still is uncomfortable. It forces you to face feelings you'd rather avoid. But that's also where clarity starts to show up. When you give yourself permission to just be with what you're feeling, without judgment, you start to untangle the noise. You start to see what actually matters and what's just static. Sometimes, the storm isn't even about what's happening outside of you. It's the storm in your mind, the overthinking, the what-ifs, the fear of worst-case scenarios. And when you sit in stillness, even if it's messy stillness, you realize that not every thought deserves your attention. Not every fear needs to be fed. There's a kind of power that comes from being still. It's not passive. It's not weakness. It's you taking back control of your inner space. Because even if you can't control the storm, you can control how you stand in it. You can choose not to let it drown you. You can choose to ground yourself, even if everything else feels shaky. And the more you practice that stillness, even in tiny moments, the more you realize that the storm eventually passes. They always do. But who you become during the storm, that's what matters. That's where the growth happens. So, the next time life feels overwhelming and your instinct is to fight, to fix, to scramble, just try pausing. Just for a moment. Find your breath. Find that quiet space inside. Because in the eye of the storm, there's always stillness. You just have to trust yourself enough to stand there. Alright, let's get real for a second. Life. It throws stuff at you that you didn't ask for. Like, sometimes you find yourself in situations where you're thinking, man, I didn't sign up for this. Whether it's heartbreak, failure, betrayal, loss, you name it, it can make you feel like the story of your life is being written for you, without your permission. Like you're just a character in somebody else's plot twist. But here's what I need you to hear. And I mean really hear this, you get to choose how the story ends. You. Nobody else. You might not have control over how the chapter started. You might not have been able to stop the hurt, or the unfair thing that happened. But you're still holding the pen. You still get to decide what happens next. And that's powerful. It's easy to feel like a victim when life hits you hard. And honestly, it's okay to sit in that for a while. It's human. You're allowed to feel it. But at some point, you have to ask yourself, am I going to let this be my whole story? Or is this just a plot twist before the comeback? You know those movies where everything falls apart for the main character? Like, you're sitting there watching and thinking, how are they going to get out of this one? And then, boom, there's that turning point. But here's the thing, in real life, that turning point, that moment where things shift, you get to create that. You don't have to wait for someone to rescue you, or for life to magically fix itself. You get to make the choice. It might be messy, it might be slow, it might not be dramatic or cinematic, but every little decision you make, to get up, to try again, to forgive, to dream, to heal, that's you rewriting the ending. And no, it doesn't mean you'll never feel the pain again. The past is part of you, but it doesn't have to define you. You can choose to carry it as wisdom, not as a weight. You can choose to use it as fuel, not as a chain. The most inspiring people you know. The ones whose stories move you. They didn't get there because everything was easy. They got there because at some point, they decided, this is not how my story ends. They turned their pain into purpose. They chose to rise, even when it was hard. And you can too. It's not about pretending everything's fine. It's about saying, yeah, this happened to me, but it's not the end of me. It's about flipping the narrative. Instead of, I'm broken, you say, I'm rebuilding. Instead of, I failed, you say, I'm learning. You get to decide what the next chapter looks like. So, what if today was the day you picked up the pen again? What if, instead of waiting for the perfect moment, you started writing the next page, even if you don't know exactly how it ends? Because the truth is, life is always going to have twists and turns. But how you respond, how you rise, how you choose to keep going, that's the part of the story you control. So don't give up your pen. Don't let the hurt, or the failure, or anyone else write your ending. You choose. You write it. And I believe, deep down, you already know what kind of ending you deserve. Okay, so, let's talk about healing. Because, honestly, I think a lot of us have this idea in our heads that healing is supposed to be like this big aha moment. You know, one day you're crying on the floor, and then, bam! The next day, you wake up, you're glowing, you're unbothered, you're fully healed, and life is perfect again. But that's not how it works. At all. Healing isn't this magical moment where everything suddenly feels okay. It's not like flipping a switch. Healing is a process. It's a journey. And sometimes, it's a long, messy, frustrating one. You'll have days where you feel strong, like, yeah, I'm over it. I'm good. I've moved on. And then out of nowhere, you hear a song or see a photo or someone says something, and boom, it hits you all over again. And you're sitting there thinking, wait, I thought I was done with this. Why am I feeling this again? That doesn't mean you're not healing. That doesn't mean you're broken or stuck. It just means healing doesn't happen in a straight line. It loops. It spirals. It comes in waves. And that's normal. That's human. Healing isn't about getting over something. It's about learning how to carry it differently. It's about making peace with the fact that some things will always leave a mark on your heart. But over time, the weight gets lighter. You grow stronger. The pain softens, even if it never fully disappears. And, you know, sometimes we're in such a rush to feel better that we skip the part where we're actually supposed to feel. We try to rush through the sadness, the anger, the grief, as if feeling them is a problem. But feeling is part of healing. You can't heal what you're not willing to face. And here's another thing. Healing doesn't mean you'll never think about what hurt you. It means it won't control you anymore. It means you'll get to a point where you can remember it, but it doesn't trigger you in the same way. It doesn't own you. There will be days where you feel like you've made no progress at all. And then, there'll be small moments where you realize, wow, a month ago, this would have broken me. But today, I handled it. Those little victories, they're huge. That's the journey. It's also not something you have to do perfectly. Some days you're gonna need to cry. Some days you'll want to stay in bed. And that's okay. Healing isn't about being positive all the time. It's about being honest with where you're at and giving yourself grace to take it one step at a time. And, look, there's no timeline, no deadline, no rule book. Don't let anyone rush your process. Healing is personal. It happens in your own way, at your own pace. You don't have to justify it to anyone. The beautiful thing is, with every step you take, even the tiniest ones, you're becoming more in tune with yourself. You start understanding your triggers, your boundaries, your needs. You start becoming the version of you who's not just surviving, but living again. So if you're in the middle of healing, and it feels slow, or it feels like you're going in circles, please know that's normal. That's part of it. You're not failing. You're growing. You're becoming. Healing isn't a moment. It's a journey. And it's one of the most important, most courageous journeys you'll ever take. So be patient with yourself. You're doing better than you think. So, you see, when it hurts, And I mean, when it really hurts, it can feel like you're all alone in it. Like no one else could possibly understand what you're carrying. But the truth is, every single person you've ever admired, every strong soul you've looked up to, has had their own moments of pain. It's just, we don't always see that part of their story. But pain. It's part of being human. It's the thing that connects us all. And while it feels heavy and unfair in the moment, it's also the thing that shapes us, teaches us, and in some weird, messy, beautiful way, it builds us. We talked about acknowledging the pain, letting it be real. We talked about how hurt is not just there to torment you. It's a messenger. It's trying to tell you something about where you are and who you're meant to become. Your story, the one that feels messy and complicated, that's your power. It's what makes you you. And there's purpose in all of it, even when you can't see it yet. But here's the key, you don't have to rush it. Healing isn't a finish line you sprint toward. It's a journey. A slow, winding, sometimes 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of journey. And that's okay. You're allowed to take your time. In the middle of your storm, when everything feels chaotic, you can still choose stillness. You can create a quiet space inside yourself, even when life is loud. That's where you'll find clarity. And most importantly, you get to choose how your story ends. No matter how it started, no matter what's been done to you, no matter how many times you've been knocked down, the pen is still in your hand. You're still the author. But you're not writing this story alone. You're not alone in your hurt. You're not alone in your healing. There are people, maybe even people you haven't met yet, who need to hear your story someday. People who will look at your journey and find hope for their own. So, when it hurts, remember, this isn't where it ends. This is just a chapter. You're still writing. And you get to decide what comes next.